The edge of the map, the stars stretched like silver threads across the black sky, and among them flew ships from 1,000 worlds, all moving with purpose, maps in their systems, guiding them from one sector to another, all the paths well known, all the dangers marked, all the routes clear, except one. There was a place on the galactic map that had no name, no paths, no stations, no patrols. It sat like a quiet shadow in the middle of the stars, and no one spoke of it. Openly it was labeled only with 2 words, human space, and around it were warning markers, ancient and untouched, not updated for centuries, in a great learning station that floated near the edge of that zone. A young alien student named Dren sat before a glowing screen, his eyes studying the map. He traced the edges of human space with his finger. The line was sharp, clean, and absolute. Nothing crossed it. No routes connected to it. No beacons blinked from within it. Why does it stop here? He asked, his voice curious, not afraid. His teacher, a pale-scaled elder, looked at him with tired eyes and shook his head softly. We do not speak of it, the elder said, and then turned away. But Dren did not turn away. The Galactic Alliance had been mapping the stars for over 6,000 years. Every world discovered, every species contacted, every sector explored and indexed with care and precision. Even hostile zones had data. Even dead systems had records. But human space had nothing, not even rumors, only silence. Dren searched the archives but found little. Most files were sealed under high clearance. A few fragments remained, small reports, decades old, some from scout vessels that approached the border and turned back without explanation. Some whispered of ships lost in the silence, without trace, without sound, without time to send a signal. The stories were always the same. The ship crossed the line and then vanished. Dren spoke to others in the research wing, but they only shook their heads. One called it cursed, another said it was a graveyard. One older pilot said he had flown near once, and his sensors went dark and his heart felt cold, as if something ancient had seen him and let him go. These stories only grew stronger in Dren's mind, not with fear, but with fascination. He was not like the others. He believed that truth should not hide behind silence. He began to collect every piece, every note, every trace. He found a record from 90 years ago. A merchant ship that had taken a shortcut by accident and returned shaken. The crew never spoke again. The captain resigned within a week and left no trace of himself. Asked his mentor again, but the elder only said one thing: we made a pact long ago. Dren, a pact we all follow because we remember. What Dren asked, but the elder did not reply. That night Dren sat alone in the observatory, his eyes on the stars beyond the station. He stared at the void of human space, a wide, empty sector surrounded by thousands of systems, yet untouched, unexplored, unmapped. It was not normal. It was not logical. He made a choice that night, one born from curiosity and the hunger for truth. He would cross the line himself. He had access to a scout ship, small and fast, meant for research missions and quiet scans. It had stealth features and light shielding enough for a short jump and return. He prepared the systems, quietly programmed the route, and waited for the window. When patrols were low, he launched at silent speed, engines humming just enough to move. Without sound, without trail, as he crossed the edge of known space, his sensors began to flicker. Strange interference signals bent in strange patterns. Colors shifted on his screen, and then all went still. No alarms, no danger signals, only silence. Deep and wide he was inside human space, looked like any other region. Stars, scattered planets, spinning. No signs of war, no signs of life, only the weight of something unknown, something watching. Past a derelict station, its surface clean, not broken, not burned, but abandoned. Lights off, systems cold. It looked like it had never been touched yet, also like it had been waiting. He docked carefully, stepped inside, and moved through halls that seemed frozen in time. Doors opened for him, systems lit up briefly, then dimmed as if they were unsure. He reached the control room and found no logs, no records. Only one thing, a message etched into the metal wall in a language not alien, but one he had studied. The message read, "We do not patrol, we do not warn, we end threats." Dren stood still, the room colder. Now the silence louder. Something had seen him, something had let him walk. This far, and then his ship's system lit up a single signal, detected a large object approaching from the far side, not fast, not hostile, just moving with purpose. He returned to his vessel, looked out into the black, and saw it a ship unlike any he had seen, smooth, dark. With no marks, no flags, no lights, it moved like a shadow, slow and sure and huge. It did not hail him. It did not fire, it simply moved to block his path. His screens went dark. His engines shut down. His ship was held in place, without sound, without pull. He sat in his chair, breathing slow, watching the human vessel as it hovered like a judgment. The stars beyond it seemed smaller. Now the map in his head now made sense. This was not a blank zone. This was a warning, and he had crossed. I've waited and wondered what would happen next, and something told him he would find out soon. The Forbidden's crossing. Dren sat frozen inside his small ship, eyes wide, hands still as the massive dark vessel hovered outside. Its presence felt heavy, like it pushed against space itself. No sound, no lights, no visible weapons, just a silent shadow blocking every exit, like it had always been there, like it belonged to the black. His ship had no control screens, were empty, systems unresponsive, the engines dead, the sensors blind. He reached for manual overrides, but nothing moved. It was as if the human ship had touched every part of his machine without entering and taken control without effort. The silence grew louder as minutes passed, or maybe hours. He could not tell. His internal clock flashed a warning, then stopped. Time felt strange, slower, heavier, like them rules had changed the moment he entered this place. Then a sound came, low and distant, not from outside, not from speakers. It came from inside his ship, not like a voice, more like a thought pressed gently into his mind, not in words, but in meaning. Follow. The front screen lit up faintly enough to see a path forming a narrow corridor of light, leading toward the human vessel. It was not a command, it was an invitation, or a test with nothing left to lose. Dren accepted. He felt his ship move, not by engine, not by control, but by unseen force, soft and smooth, like being pulled by threads of gravity. The human vessel opened a small gate, not mechanical, not like airlocks from known ships. It opened like space itself was parting, creating a tunnel of light and darkness, both flowing together. Dren's ship floated inside. The gate closed behind him. Inside, the human ship was not what he expected. It was not made of wires and lights, not covered in machines and panels. The walls seemed alive, made of shifting metal that moved like skin under light. Soft pulses ran through them like a heartbeat. He was not afraid. He should have been, but the calmness in the air held him still, like he was being watched, not with hate, not with fear, but with purpose. His ship landed on a wide platform, without noise, without signal. A door opened ahead, and light spilled in, pure and steady. He stepped out, feet touching the floor that gave no echo. The space wide and silent, like a temple, not a worship. In the center stood a figure, tall, calm, dressed in black, with no symbols, no armor, no weapon. His face plain, human, his eyes cold and deep, like he had seen far too much. Welcome, the man said, voice clear, without emotion. You are the first in 50 years to cross the line and live. Dren wanted to speak, but words failed. The man did not move, did not blink, only waited. This is not forbidden space, the man said. This is reserved space, human space, secured by memory, not by fear. The galaxy draws its line here, not because we demand it, but because they remembered. Dren found his voice weak and unsure. Why is there no data, no records? Why does no one talk about you? Because they learned, the man said. They touched fire once and learned not to touch again. We do not seek war, Dren said. We do not threaten, we only wish to know, and knowledge has its price, the man replied. You are not the first to come, and not all who came returned. Those who did saw too much or understood too little. Some broke, some vanished, some remained. You are here because we allowed it. Dren tried to ask more, but the man raised his hand and the walls shifted, showing scenes not with sound, but with light. Memories playing like stories in the stars. He saw ships from long ago entering human space, proud and armed. They attacked, first testing strength. They were answered not with equal force, but overwhelming power, not anger, just precision. He saw fleets turn to dust in seconds, cities wiped from maps, without pride, without mercy, only action. Then silence. After that, the galaxy stopped. They drew the line, they marked the map, and agreed without speaking to never ask again. The man turned to Dren and spoke again. We gave one message long ago. Your wars end at our border. We have kept that promise. But why? Stay silent, Dren asked. Why not guide, help, share? The man's eyes narrowed. We tried once. We gave knowledge. We gave peace. It was used for greed and control. And when we took it back, they called us monsters. We do not guide. We do not rule. We watch. We wait. We survive. You may go back now, the man said. You will not be harmed. Your ship will work again. But know this, the next who crosses may not return. Dren wanted to argue, to plead. But he knew it would change nothing. The weight in the air told him this was not threat. This was warning written in unshakable truth. He returned to his ship. Systems flickered back life. Returning quietly, screens alive, engines humming like nothing had happened. The human ship opened again, and his path lit up once more behind him. The figure still stood, still watching. As Dren left, the human ship drifted back into shadow, vanishing like a ghost into the black E. Crossed the border again, and the stars returned to normal. Signals returned, maps lit up, alarms blinked. From patrol ships calling his name, he had crossed the line and returned. But he would never be the same. Contact with the quiet force. Dren returned to his side of the galaxy, his ship drifting through known space like a forgotten leaf caught in the tide of stars. Alarms echoed across nearby stations. Voices shouted across comms. Patrol ships surrounded him within moments, their weapons armed, their scans focused. But Dren did not move. He sat in silence, eyes wide, heart still lost in what he had seen. He was pulled from his ship, not with violence, but with caution. Doctors scanned him, leaders questioned him, engineers tore through his ship searching for traces, but found nothing. No tracking, no damage, no change. His ship was clean, like it had never left. He was taken to a high command station, far from the edge, far from the fear, placed in a cold room under bright lights, where council members from many worlds sat around him, each one older, each one chosen not for power, but for what they remembered. You crossed the line, one of them said, voice cold, steady, and you returned. We did not expect this. I needed to know, Dren replied, his voice soft but firm. The map ends there, but truth should not. The room fell silent. Then the oldest among them leaned forward, his skin cracked, his eyes dull like faded glass, his voice dry and slow. Did they speak to you? Dren nodded. What did they showed? Spoke without lies. He told them about the silent ship, the moving walls, the calm man with eyes like time itself. He spoke of the message written in metal. He spoke of the visions shown without sound, without words. He spoke of fleets turned to dust, of warnings sent once, of the galaxy choosing silence. When he finished, no one moved for a long while. Then the oldest council member spoke again, not to Dren, but to the others. It is the same as before. Many of the younger ones whispered among themselves, some in disbelief, some in fear. Some wanted proof, others wanted denial. But the elder raised his hand, and silence returned. There was a time long before Dren was born, when humans were not feared, when they were new to the stars, eager and curious. They joined councils, they signed pacts, they shared tools, they offered peace, and in return they asked for space to grow. But the Alliance saw them as weak, saw their peace as foolish, and when war came, they did not support Earth. They left it to burn, hoping to remove a future threat before it could rise. They were wrong. Humans did not fall, they rose. Faster, stronger, sharper. They built alone, they fought alone, and when they returned, they did not come with demands. They came with silence and force. They struck not out of anger, but out of strategy. They did not destroy planets, they ended armies. They did not speak, they acted. The galaxy remembered that silence more than any scream. Dren listened as the elder spoke. These words not as warning, not as fear, but as history marked in blood and regret. The humans offered a message once, one line that ended every war that crossed their border. Your wars end at our border. Since then the Alliance made a quiet law, not signed, not voted, simply followed. None shall cross, none shall ask, none shall map. Dren had broken that law. He was not punished, he was released, given food, rest, silence, no metal, no exile, only eyes that watched him, like he was now part of something too large, too quiet, too dangerous to name. Returned to his home world, tried to live as before, tried to return to books and stars. But every night the image of that human ship returned to his mind. Every day the voice of the calm man echoed not with threat, but with truth. He wrote his story in secret, shared it in quiet places, not with the public, not with the press, only with minds that could carry truth without shaking. Some called him a liar, some called him cursed, some believed him, and those who believed grew quiet in deep halls of research where the old meet the bold. His story passed from one to another like fire in dry grass, not burning but warming, giving light in corners that forgot how to see. Meanwhile, far beyond known space, in the deep of human territory, a council of Earth sat around a black table. No names, no ranks, only purpose. Another one came through. A woman said, her voice soft like winter wind. He returned. Another replied, his tone neutral, not pleased, not angry. Did he understand? He will in time, and if he speaks, let him. They said he saw what we showed, nothing more. He does not know our reach, our depth, our silence. Then we wait always. They watched a screen showing the edge of mapped space, showing Dren's ship, now a small mark moving back to quiet life. One of them spoke not to the others, but to the room itself. They ask why the map ends here. Because beyond this line, the rules are different. Because here there is no negotiation, no trial, no alliance, only action. Council said nothing more. The lights dimmed. The stars outside moved like rivers. The humans remained in shadow as they always had, not hidden, not lost, just watching the choice to speak or stay silent. Dren sat beneath the low sky of his home world, watching the pale sun rise over quiet hills. His thoughts far from the warmth and the wind, his eyes fixed on the sky, but his mind trapped inside the silent ship that had shown him truth. The voices of his people returned to him again and again, words spoken behind closed doors, behind cautious eyes. Some called him brave, some called him lost, some said he was marked. He had seen something he was never meant to see, and now he walked among those who still asked questions. He no longer needed to ask. He tried to return to studies, but the books felt empty. He tried to listen to teachers, but their words felt small. He walked through cities where machines moved and stars blinked on screens, but he saw all of it through a shadow. Shaped like a human vessel late at night, he began to write, not in his name, not in open pages, but in layers of code, buried deep in data waves, hidden across signals. He sent his story out piece by piece, voice by voice, never full, never loud, always quiet, always careful. And some listened. A pilot on the far edge of the stars read his words and felt something shift in her heart. A trader from a quiet moon whispered the tale in a bar with lights dimmed. A soldier standing post near the ancient warning buoys stared longer at the void and did not blink. In time the story grew legs. It walked through dark corners, it flew through silent signals, it crept into minds not ruled by fear, and from there it moved into something more. A group rose from dust and echo, not part of the main council, not bound by the law. They called themselves the Reach, and their goal was simple: to go where none dared to go, to map what had long been left blank, to claim what had been marked forbidden. They said the old fear was weakness. They said humanity was hiding something powerful, something valuable. They believed that beyond that silence there was not danger, but opportunity. Dren learned of the Reach from hidden messages. He watched their symbols rise in forgotten places, watched their ships gather at borders where no beacons blinked, where no patrols flew. He sent warnings, he wrote to their leaders, he begged them to listen. They laughed. One message returned to him, sharp and mocking: if you fear the silence, then stay out of the way. We are not afraid of ghosts. Dren went to the council once more, stood before them with fire in his words and truth in his eyes. He told them of the Reach, of the fleet building in secret, of the bold who no longer respected the line. The council listened but did not speak. They did not move, only the elder looked at him with tired eyes. We warned them long ago, he said. We cannot warn them again. They chose to forget, and the galaxy always remembers through pain. Dren left the chamber with no support, no allies, no plan. He could only watch. The Reach gathered 12 ships, fast, strong, armed with new tech. They crossed the border without ceremony, no signals, No greeting, no caution. They moved into human space like children stepping into shadow, pretending not to believe in the dark. At first nothing happened. The stars looked the same. The space felt calm. They sent messages back full of pride, full of mockery. They said the silence was just myth. They said the line was just fear. Dren waited each day, checking signals. Each night, hearing the pulse of human silence in his memory. And then one morning the messages. Stop, no flash, no battle, no cry, just silence. Complete and sudden, endless, the reach vanished. 12 ships. Gone, no trace, no beacon, no return, no flame, only cold data that showed their last position just past the old line and nothing beyond it. Council called an emergency session. They did not ask who the reach were. They did not ask why they crossed. They asked only how to erase the damage, how to restore the silence. So the map was changed. The new maps drew the line darker, wider, stronger. Systems near the edge were marked with fresh warnings. Satellites launched to repeat the old message in every tongue, in every code. Do not enter, do not explore, do not question human. Space is not part of the galaxy. It is not yours to claim. Dren watched as the news spread, watched as whispers turned to stillness, watched as those who once mocked now prayed. He walked through his city again and saw fear, not loud fear, but quiet, deep in the bones. The kind that makes eyes turn away when stars are mentioned. The kind that makes silence feel heavy. Children were taught again about the great alliance, the noble mission, the path of peace. But the map shown in their books stopped once more at the same old line, and teachers said nothing of what lay beyond. Dren stood at the edge of a cliff, one night sky. Above, sea, below, the stars shining bright. But the shape of the human ship still clear in his memory. He had tried to speak, he had tried to warn, and now the silence had spoken louder than he ever could. Behind him, the world moved forward, pretending to forget, pretending not to know. But Dren remembered. He would always remember the truth behind the silence. Time moved slowly after the disappearance of the reach. The stars kept shining, the ships kept flying, the Alliance resumed its meetings, its trade, its politics. But something had changed, something deep that no one could fully name. It was not spoken, it was not written, but it lived in the silence. Between conversations, it walked beside officers who stared too long at the edge of space. It drifted through data logs that suddenly deleted themselves when they came too close to forbidden zones. Dren no longer worked for the Council, no longer taught, no longer searched. He lived in a quiet place near the mountains, far from cities, far from ports. His days passed in stillness, his nights filled with stars and memory. Sometimes he would see small vessels fly across the sky and wonder if any of them knew what line not to cross. Then came the day when a message reached him, old in code, broken in format, scattered through multiple channels. It was not from the Council, not from old friends. It came from a deep source, hidden and unknown, a warning wrapped in a question. They are coming again. Dren read it over and over, felt the chill in the message, not from the words, but from what they did not say. He sent a reply, asked for proof, asked for detail. Nothing came back, but he knew it was real. He knew it because the galaxy had not lured it in. A hidden sector, a new alliance of outer colonies, had grown powerful and proud, untouched by the war stories, distant from the old history. They believed the Tailies were myth. They believed the humans were gone or sleeping or never real. They built ships stronger than ever before. They trained warriors who felt no fear. They sent scouts across dead paths and found no resistance. And they believed the silence was weakness. Their leaders gathered and made a plan, not in secret, not in shame, but with full pride. They would cross the line, they would enter the blank part of the map and show the old alliance that there was nothing there to fear, that the time of silence was over. Dren tried to speak once more. He reached out to the old Council, sent messages to contacts, to watchers, to anyone who still remembered the man on the human ship. But most were gone, some in exile, some in hiding, some simply silent. He stood again before the Council chamber. This time as a guest, not as a scholar, his voice calm but steady, his words simple and sharp. If they cross again, they will vanish again, and the silence will grow deeper and darker than before. The Council did not speak at first. Then one member, younger than most, stood and asked, "What do you expect us to do?" Dren replied. "I expect you to remember, but..." Memory fades when pride returns. The fleet from the new alliance crossed the line with flags. High weapons charged, engines bright. They sent messages on every frequency, declaring their intent to explore, to connect, to understand, but none returned. Their signals ended the moment they passed the old warning beacons. Their ships vanished from all scans, their names deleted from their own systems like they had never existed. A day later, every network across the galaxy blinked for 7 seconds. Not more, not less, and then a single line appeared on every screen, every station, every ship, every home from the highest towers to the lowest mines. The border is final. There was no sender, no trace, no signal path, only the message, pure and absolute. Like the voice of the stars themselves, panic spread in whispers. People remembered old stories. The council held emergency meetings. The Alliance sent scout drones which melted into static the moment they reached the edge of human space, even automated. Ships could not enter, even machines could not return. Maps were updated again, this time not with warnings, but with walls, solid lines. Thick red symbols saying "Do not enter" in every language of the Alliance. Beacons were installed not near the border, but far back. Entire systems were marked as restricted, and silence became law, not by vote, but by survival. Dren watched all this from his quiet home. He did not feel joy or triumph, only sadness, deep and cold, not because he had failed, but because the galaxy had failed itself. It had been given a warning, a message clear and final, and it chose to ignore it again and again, until silence was the only answer left. He walked to a hill near his home, sat beneath the stars, and looked toward the direction of the line. He knew no ship would go there again. No scout would dare, no council would permit it. The galaxy had remembered, but only through loss. Far away, deep inside human space, the black ship moved once more, not fast, not in fear, just in silence. The same way it always had, inside a chamber, without windows, without sound. The man stood again, still calm, his eyes as quiet as the space around him. Another one warned, another one lost, another map corrected. He turned away, walked through halls that changed shape with every step, machines pulsing softly like breathing metal screens, lit up with maps not of stars, but of decisions, lines drawn not by borders, but by lessons learned too late. He stopped before a panel that showed the galaxy from above, tiny lights, blinking paths crossing worlds, spinning, and at the center the red zone, wide and untouched, a place no longer debated, no longer tested. Pressed a hand to the panel and spoke, not aloud, but within. "Let them remember this time." And the lights dimmed again. Back on Dren's world, rain began to fall, light and slow. He sat without moving, watching the sky, watching the future, and knowing the map would never move again. And no one would ever ask why, because now they knew the end.